Okay, you are looking at the Infinix Zero Ultra, Infinix's first curved display device, which pretty much looks like a proper implementation of the concept phone we saw about a year ago. The Infinix Zero Ultra is one of the very few phones to have the new 200 megapixel camera, and more interestingly, this is currently the fastest charging smartphone with 180 watts thunder charging. Also, XOS is sporting a whole new look. But has it earned the Ultra name? Let's find out. Infinix has just officially released the Zero Ultra alongside the Zero 20. At first glance, you'd think this is a Samsung device, thanks to that curved display which is only found on flagship devices. Safe to say this mostly has a flagship design and build, but only time will tell if it provides flagship performance all around. But that shouldn't be expected as it is priced in the mid-range segment. The Infinix Zero Ultra boasts a couple of interesting features which you won't find on most devices, especially not at this price point, with the major selling points being that 180 watts thunder charging, 200 megapixel camera, which I believe is currently only found on about 2 or 3 other devices. Now that comes with some huge expectations, as I believe most will want to see what kind of images we get from the Zero Ultra. Not to worry, we'll get to that. I think I've referenced the pricing like twice but not actually mentioned it. The Infinix Zero Ultra comes at a starting price of $520, and in Naira it costs 383,000 Naira. That seems like a lot, but I'd say it's also blame on the Naira to dollar exchange rate, which I think as of a year ago this wouldn't have cost above 230k, but it is what it is. Now with that said, this is the most expensive Infinix device yet, also the first with a curved display, also the first available smartphone with charging speeds up to 180 watts. But let's not get carried away here. Let's start with what comes in the box of the Infinix Zero Ultra. As expected of Infinix, all essential accessories comes packed in the box with a little extra, as we find a USB-C to 3.5mm adapter. Yes, the headphone jack is gone, but you also get a pair of USB-C wired earphones, so you likely won't be missing the headphone jack. The 180 watts charging brick has a Type-C port, so it uses a Type-C to Type-C cable. If you're into NFTs, the box also contains a card with a QR code you can scan and probably win an NFT. The device comes with a pre-installed screen protector, and there's also an extra one in the box. Before we go further into the video, let's talk about that 180 watts thunder charging, which is highly marketed and I believe most would like to see. This is actually not the first super fast charging phone from Infinix. We saw the 120 watt charging Note 12 VIP from earlier this year. Now, according to the marketing material, 180 watts charging is supposed to charge this to 100% in 12 minutes, but I felt that's a little exaggerated, so I decided to test. After draining it to zero, I got it charged to 50% in just 8 minutes. That's super fast by any standards. However, after 15 minutes of charging, it was 80%, and it took me just about 20 minutes to get to 100%. That's still really fast, and I think it could be faster depending on the charge conditions, and maybe with Furious mode turned on. Their marketing didn't specify from 0 to 100 though, so I guess if you have a low battery, say from 10 to 100%, it should do so in about 12 minutes. Now this is still pretty impressive by any current fast charging standards. And it's worthy of mention that other creators reported charging it to 100 within 16 minutes from their test, so I guess different charging conditions. With the charging technology used, this doesn't cause the phone to heat up, nor does it rapidly degrade the battery, so it's safe. The Infinix Zero Ultra is powered by MediaTek's Dimensity 920 chipset, that is to say it supports 5G. That is the same chipset on the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G, which is significantly more affordable, but doesn't pack the design elegance and camera potential of the Zero Ultra. On design, this is a classy looking device with build quality worthy of a flagship. It has this textured pattern on the rear that gives it this ceramic feel, pretty much smudge resistant. At the top left of the rear, we see that large 200 megapixel OIS sensor alongside the ultra-wide and macro cameras. The frame is glossy on both left and right sides, but matte at the top and bottom, which happens to also be flat, so it can stand on its own without support for those that would like to flex that. Now the bottom frame, you'll notice the headphone jack is gone, but I find no reason to complain since Infinix added a USB-C pair of earphones and a USB-C to headphone jack adapter, and that's very thoughtful. We get stereo speakers on the Infinix Zero Ultra with the primary speaker at the bottom frame and the second one at the top. We have its fingerprint scanner on the display, and I find it responsive and accurate. Works even when the display is off. You should have no issues with this one. The curved build of the Zero Ultra might raise questions about accidental touches at the edge while holding it, but like most curved display devices I've used, this has no such issue. The curved edges makes this phone feel really premium, and you'd hardly believe it's an Infinix device if you had to guess. The curve is more similar to the likes of the previous Samsung S series or the current Pro Pixel devices. It has a more aggressive curve than, say, the Galaxy S22 Ultra. Standing at 6.8 inches tall, it's a convenience device to hold. It doesn't feel cheap at all. The display here is of 1080p resolution and gets 120Hz refresh rate, which is set to automatically switch by default, but I'll always go for 120Hz always for the best experience. Now it has a 360Hz touch sampling rate, and that combined with the refresh rate makes for smoother animations and good touch experience. It's the best display on an Infinix phone yet, not only for its curved edges, which gives it over 90% screen to body ratio, but the display quality. It is AMOLED and will give you that quality you'd expect. It gets up to 900 nits of peak brightness. I need not explain the beauty of consuming content on a curved display. On software, the Infinix Zero Ultra comes with Android 12 and a revamped version of XOS. That's XOS 12. It looks completely different from the previous version, and I have to say I love what they've done with the software. Now, while it looks visually revamped, I have not noticed any major features that are new. Also, barely any Material U integration. It still has some of the clutter of previous versions with some pre-installed apps sending ads which most can be disabled. I like the new control panel UI, however you need to swipe down twice to see the full panel. Two-finger swipe doesn't work, so one swipe from the top and the second swipe towards the bottom. With that said, the UI and overall experience is snappy with no bugs or lags. It's a much welcome improvement from previous Infinix devices overall. The Infinix Zero Ultra comes with a base 8GB of RAM and a 128GB internal storage. There's a 256GB option. We sadly do not get expandable storage here, which is a bummer as you might need to spend over 400,000 naira to get the 256GB version. While most might say at the price of the Zero Ultra they would have preferred a Snapdragon processor, the Dimensity 920 is no walkover. It's a 6nm processor with really good performance, and not just from its high benchmark scores, but also in its overall efficiency. Gaming on the Infinix Zero Ultra provides great experience, packing the Mali G68 GPU. You are able to play high graphics titles at high graphics settings and frame rates and not have frame drops. While I've not had extensive gaming sessions in my experience so far, it has been pretty consistent and with good heat management. I tested the likes of Apex Legends, which can go up to very high frame rates and normal graphics and allows you to play at consistent 60fps, or Ultra HD graphics and high frame rate, which allows you to play at consistent 50fps. With Call of Duty Mobile, you can play at high graphics and very high frame rates. To play at max frame rate though, you need to select low graphics. Now the overall gaming experience from my short test is nothing below expectations, and I'll say you have no problems gaming with the Infinix Zero Ultra. Now the battery life is impressive for a 4500 mAh capacity battery. I used it for a day, including taking pictures and videos and a little gaming, and by the end of my day I still had about 30% battery left. Now let's talk about that 200 megapixel camera, which is a recently released Samsung sensor and has so far been used by just about 2 other devices. It's a triple rare combination of a 200 megapixel main camera, a 13 megapixel ultra wide, and a 2 megapixel macro camera. The selfie camera is 32 megapixels. The main camera has a noticeably wide sensor and captures more detail than regular. It takes good quality photos that are sharp and even wallpaper worthy, especially when you use that Sky Shot mode. This wallpaper was shot on the Infinix Zero Ultra using Sky Shot mode. You get really good HDR processing on photos, and even in low light you can get some really good shots. Now the 200 megapixel mode takes high res photos that retains detail even when zoomed in. I'm actually impressed by the performance of the main camera. Its ultra wide also takes decent photos, but it has a slightly different color profile from the main camera images. For nighttime shots, the Zero Ultra does not disappoint. Processing is actually very impressive when compared to what you saw from the viewfinder. Its selfie camera for me is a hit or miss, but when it captures right, it does it well. To get the best, I recommend using it in ideal light conditions, preferably outdoors. The portrait mode sometimes smoothens the skin more than I'd like, but some prefer it this way. HDR processing is barely present with portrait selfies, so for photos with the sky in the background, you might want to keep your expectations low. Otherwise, it does great. I also noticed the 32 megapixel mode is absent from the camera settings. Hopefully there's a software update to address that. The Infinix Zero Ultra is capable of shooting videos up to 4K 30fps from the rear camera, and I'll say it does a good job at that. The main camera gets OIS, so it helps you get more stable footage. There's HDR video mode, which brings the quality down to 1080p. However, I really can't tell the difference between shooting in HDR mode or regular mode from the rear camera. On the selfie camera, however, enabling HDR video mode seems to really affect the quality. I like to believe this is an issue with my unit, as it's a review unit and it hopefully shouldn't be in the retail unit. but shooting a selfie video with HDR off, it's just fine.
Okay, so this is the Infinix Zero Ultra shooting 1080p 30 fps. I think it can do 60 fps from its selfie camera. It can do 4K 30 fps from the rear cameras, and it's evening, checking out the cameras to see what it looks like or how sharp it looks from the viewfinder. Looks pretty good, but can only tell when you take it out of the device and maybe share it to social media or review it on PC. But so far, looks good. Would have been really cool if it could do 4K 30 fps though. Let me know what you think. Also, the microphone quality. Peace.
The Infinix Zero Ultra is an impressive device when it comes to design, performance, and that 200 megapixel camera didn't disappoint. I also love what they've done with XOS 12 and would like to see it trimmed down further to remove the bloatware and ads completely, especially for this price point. Not to forget, its standard charging feature can come in really handy when you need a quick boost. You can just plug your phone in and go take a shower and you are boosted by at least 50%. Now that's a huge flex. What are your thoughts on the Infinix Zero Ultra? Let's discuss in the comments. Peace.